Just before we get started, I want to give you a brief overview of what we do here at the KSBDC and kind of show you or give you a little bit of a talking tour of what we can do for your business. At the Kansas Small Business Development Center, we work with local businesses to help you excel in your business. And so that can look like advising you one-on-one. We can assist with loans and putting together loans. We can also assist with marketing. We can do your operations. We can help with your finance, HR. We help with basically anything that you have going on in your business, and we can meet with you one-on-one to do that. We are a confidential, no-cost service. So you are prepaid with your tax dollars. But on top of doing just the advising, we also do what we're doing here, which are our workshops. Currently, they're in webinar format, but in other circumstances, they're usually face-to-face. And then finally, we do a lot of work with the community to help train different entrepreneurs to be able to excel in their business. So if you are interested in receiving any of our advising services, once again, please feel free to email me and I'll get you connected either with me or one of our other advisors to look at how we can assist you in your business. And so I also want to just kind of go over here some of the upcoming workshops that we have. So we are looking toward next week on Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. The first one we have is moving forward with e-commerce. And so you are all obviously in this e-commerce crash course workshop, but going forward, the next one's going to look like giving you information about, okay, how do you optimize some of your marketing for this? How do you optimize your website? And what are things that you can do to get noticed? So that's going to look like some different marketing strategies. And then the final class is going to be what you need to know about SEO. And so that's going to be a brief overview of some different things that you can do to improve your search engine optimization, to rise up in the ranks of Google or Bing or Yahoo, and to be found easier once you have your online business up and going. It will also discuss how to find and contact an SEO expert and give you just kind of a good baseline knowledge to know if the person you're talking to actually knows their stuff or not. So we'll be looking forward to those happening next Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Finally, I do want to mention that we have a chat box that will be going throughout the presentation. So feel free to put any questions in there that you may have. I'll be checking those periodically throughout the presentation, and then we'll have a designated time at the end of the presentation to allow you to ask those questions. I'll wait around for a little bit to see if any of those come in. If you once again want to email me to ask a question that's a little bit more specific to your business, then I'd be happy to either talk with you, get you signed up as a client, and then talk with you and go from there. So feel free to leave any of those questions. I'm sure other people have the same questions as you. So. All right, so to be in business, you have to make sure that you have two things going for you. One is you want to make sure that your business is registered. So for some of you, you've been in business for a bit, this is already done and over with. But for those of you that are new to business or have a newer business and haven't done this yet, make sure that this is one of the first things that you do. So you need to register your business. And that means making sure or deciding whether you're going to be an LLC, an S Corp, a C Corp, a sole proprietorship, whatever it may be. We can help walk you through what those different options are and how they may benefit or have cons to them for your business. But you choose what kind of business structure you're going to be, then you register it at the state of Kansas. The kind of one-stop shop address to get to all this information is going to be this this address that's in the middle here, the ksbiz.kansas.gov. And then once you've registered your business, then you want to receive an employee identification number or an EIN. And so the way that I like to describe it is registering your business is like the birth certificate. It shows that you are alive, that your business is alive, and that it is doing what it's supposed to. It tells information about you, says when you were born, when your business was born, that kind of thing. But your EIN is going to be like your social security number. That is what's going to allow you to then function as a business. It's going to allow you to receive a loan. It's going to be on formal documentation. It's going to be used for tax purposes. So you will need both of these in order to move forward as a business, whether you're online or brick and mortar. All right, so jumping into some of this e-commerce information, I want to go over some of the types of e-commerce that are available both in business formation structure and as type of revenue structures, to look at what some of your options may be going forward and determine what type of business you have in mind or are creating or currently operating. That way you can decide what platform and what e-commerce platform is going to work best for you. So starting off, figuring out who are you and who are you selling to. So these are kind of a pretty exhaustive list of every type of business structure there is to be selling, with the exception of, I left out consumer to government because that's essentially just for tax purposes. But we start out with B2B, or business to business. That is obviously one business selling to another business. A good example of this is Boeing. They are a business who sells their planes to other businesses like airports, Southwestern, things like that. And then we have consumer to consumer. These are e-commerce platforms that are like Craigslist, where one average Joe person without their own business sells to another average Joe person without their own business. We then have business to consumer. A good example of this is Overstock. This is kind of what you traditionally think of when you're thinking of e-commerce, where your business, you have a product, you are selling it to average Joe consumers. Just like Overstock does, you can go on, you can buy whatever you want. And some of these, it's worth mentioning, mesh up as well. So if you're a small business, you might be buying supplies from Overstock for your business. In that case, they would be a business to business seller. So there is some overlap between these, but it's important to recognize what your primary purpose with these is going to be. Next, we have consumer to business. So an example of this is something called Upwork, which is essentially freelancers who are able to go through this e-commerce platform to sell their services to business. So the consumer or the average citizen is selling their services to a business, so C2B. You'll have to forgive me, I'm not used to talking this much usually. And then finally, we have business to government, or business to administration, public administration. An example of this is going to be businesses that exclusively sell their services to the government. So one example is Synergetics, and what they do is they take, they have their own contractors that they contract out to the government. Sorry, just one moment. Sorry about that. Sit at home all day and you just talk to far fewer people. Not as used to talking now. Okay, see if we can keep the coughing at bay during the rest of the presentation. Okay, so next we are going to look at different revenue models that are available to businesses. This is essentially going to be, how do you interact with your supplier to get your product to a consumer. So the first revenue model and the easiest revenue model to kind of enter into without having your own business idea per se, or a kind of a novel concept of an idea, is going to be drop shipping. So with drop shipping, the consumer places an order on your online store, or on a online store. And then that online store passes the order on to the drop shipper, who then orders through the supplier. And so then the supplier ships the order directly to the consumer. So you, as the drop shipper, just kind of act as an intermediary to facilitate that sale. And then the supplier does the delivering and storing of it. The margins for this are a little bit slimmer. Just because you are an intermediary, you tend to not get as big of a cut. But you don't have to have storage space. You don't have to have large capital to start it up. It's a pretty easy entry. The next type of revenue model that is available for businesses or for e-commerce businesses is wholesaling and warehousing. So with wholesaling and warehousing, you have an online store, and you order directly from the supplier. The supplier sends you the products, and then you store them in a warehouse. So you have to pay the storing costs, the warehousing costs, everything like that associated with it, as well as you have to pay an upfront cost, usually to order in bulk from the suppliers. The consumers then get on your website and they place an order from your website. You then are in charge of sending the customer order from the warehousing to the customer. One of the benefits of this is that you're going to be able to be a little bit more in control of when everything is sent. You're going to be able to be a little bit more control of making sure that you have the stock and you have the supply for this, because you know it's in your warehouse. One of the downsides of this is that you do have to have a little bit more actually a significant amount more of upfront capital to be able to store and warehouse a lot of these products. So that's a secondary type of revenue model. You can also do private labeling and manufacturing. So what private labeling is, in a nutshell, is you have an idea for a product. You take your product to a pre-existing manufacturer who makes it for you. And so they custom make it for you. And then from there, they can either send the product to your company again, and then you send it to the consumer. They can send your product to a third party like Amazon, who then sends it to the consumer, or they can send it directly to the consumer. So it just depends on the agreement that you have with them. And then finally, we have white labeling. So white labeling is when you as the online store order directly from the supplier. The supplier has an existing product, whether it be some white coffee mugs or blank t-shirts or something like that. They have an existing product that they then put your label, your brand, your logo on, and then send it to the customer. And so this allows you to know you're having a good consistency of products. It's also a low cost sort of way to go about doing this. As far as you don't have to be storing it, you don't have to be doing all that. You're able to order from them, and you don't have to create the manufacturing to be able to do these products. This is primarily done with kind of beauty industry products, and so you have a face wash, and you slap your name on it, and then you sell it to consumers. That's what white labeling is. All right, and then I'll just go ahead and take this moment to stop for any questions that we may have before we kind of get into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty of some of this e-commerce stuff. All right, it doesn't look like we have any currently, so I'll just go ahead and move forward. So I want to, for the remainder of this presentation, give you tools to be able to either decide whether you're going to create your own website or whether you feel you need to hire somebody like a developer or designer to be able to do that for you. a lot of this depends on your individual business's needs. So people ask me pretty frequently, what's the best e-commerce website for me? And the keywords are for me. I can't tell you what the best e-commerce website are. There are lots of think blogs and everything else out there that will kind of narrow it down to say, okay, if you want this, this may be the best one. If you want this, this may be the best one, or here's the best overall e-commerce platform. But ultimately, your business is going to be so unique and have such individual needs that it's up to you to determine kind of what you feel might be the best platform for you, and what your needs are going to be now and what your business's needs are going to be in the future. So keeping this long time span to understand the scalability of your business and of the e-commerce platform that you choose, is what's going to be essential. So I want to go through kind of a few e-commerce words that you may or may not know already, but just to make sure that, one, as I'm describing some of the pros and cons of several different e-commerce platforms, making sure we're on the same page with what we're talking about, as well as if you decide that you are not going to create the website yourself, you're going to go to a developer, this is going to allow you to understand kind of what your options are, to have language to dialogue with them, and to be able to know exactly what you're getting from them or from the platform that you choose. So I put together a brief e-commerce dictionary. So the first feature is cart abandonment. So what cart abandonment is when you go through and you click, let's say you are on Amazon. You're going through Amazon, you are clicking add to my cart, add to my cart. You're just shopping for things, whether for needing it, for the fun of it, whatever it may be. So then they're all sitting in your cart, but you haven't yet bought them or paid for them. So for some websites, if people then click off the web page or abandon their cart, then that is all lost. Or it doesn't give them reminders to go back and, hey, do you want to check out? Would you like to buy these things that you put in your cart? And so by people abandoning their cart, you can lose a lot of potential sales just because people forget about it, or they added it to their cart and they come back to the web page a week later and it's no longer there because they clicked off the page. So one really important feature for increasing your sales conversion rate is going to be having a cart autosave feature. Some e-commerce platforms offer this, some don't, some offer it in higher paid levels of their pricing, whatever it may be. But having a cart autosave feature will allow you to just automatically save what they've put in their cart, and then from there, it will bring it back when they come back to check on their cart later or to look into it. Just take a moment real quick to read a question that we have. Okay, so it says, it's a two-part question, but it starts out with, it sounds like contracts and agreements are important. Do the manufacturers usually originate these agreements? For those that need to originate contracts, are there some samples of contracts or agreements that you like for people new to this business model? So I'm not actually personally familiar with any particular contract format or model that I like to give out. Generally, I tell people to contact either an attorney or to look at some samples online to see what kind of information is needed for that, as well as to just kind of look over the general information. So these contracts are very important. I would say that coming in and getting an advising session to discuss your specific contract is going to be what's best for each specific situation. So great question, thank you. So moving on, we have one-click upsells. So what a one-click upsell is going to be is after they have made their purchase. So they've got it in their cart, they clicked, yes, I want to buy it. They gave you all their information. The purchase is said and done. It's on its way to them. then you want to look at doing a one-click upsell. So this is another way to increase your conversion rate with your pre-existing customers. And studies show that increasing your customer retention rate by just 5% can increase your profits by almost 25%. So it's really vital to make sure you are providing opportunities for your pre-existing customers to stay connected with you, to know about the new products that you have, know about new promotions you have. And a great way to do this, to capture them as soon as they've become or currently are being a customer, is a one-click upsell. So after they've made their purchase, then there's some sort of a pop-up that comes up. And this pop-up can be about several different things. It can be asking them to review a product. This is a great way to capture those 5 stars that everybody's always looking for and that are sometimes very difficult to capture. A pop-up can also come up and be replenishment reminders. So you can have it on some sort of a cycle of, hey, it looks like you haven't bought more coffee in a while. You might be running low. Would you like to buy some more? That can really help increase your customer loyalty, because it will help to, one, just kind of remind them, and 2, show what sort of products may pair well with what they've bought, show what sort of products they may be interested in because they bought previously. Additionally, you can have a satisfaction survey that can come up, and that will allow you to get a capture and understand the satisfaction of your customers. Were they satisfied with the process? Have they been satisfied with previous surveys or previous services? You do have to be careful of this, because, if they're buying a t-shirt for the first time, and then as soon as they buy it, a satisfaction survey pops up that says, how's your t-shirt? Well, they haven't got it yet. It hasn't arrived. So you have to be careful of the timing of some of these things and make sure that you are cognizant of exactly what you're wanting to find out with these surveys. But these also can be a great tool for you, and people just love to give their opinion in general. Loyalty rewards programs can also be a type of one-click upsell. And so there's one shown off to the right-hand side here, which is, hey, you bought from us, you get more loyalty points. And so then they can turn around and they can choose to use those loyalty points in that moment. They have, for example, these 25 points, 1 points, 25 points, that show the accumulation of your points and show exactly what you can buy in that moment with those points. So that's another way to, 1, obviously increase the loyalty of your customers, but 2, to be able to get them to turn around and be purchasing again from you, really increase that conversion rate. And obviously they're called one-click upsells because you want to make it as quick and easy as possible for them. They shouldn't have to click more than, one time to get on it. If it's a survey, a couple of questions, understandable, but it's really supposed to be something that's very fast, doesn't really take a whole lot of time or thought to go through it. And that's how, in general, you can increase conversion through e-commerce websites. The assumption is always customers want to get where they want to get as fast as they can and with as few clicks as they can. So you really want to expedite that process in any way that you see fit. So the next term is download on demand or print on demand. So download on demand is going to be something like they go to your website and they buy a audiobook that you've written and recorded. So they're obviously, if it's an audiobook, they're not going to be getting anything in the mail. It's not a service that they're getting. It's something that as soon as they buy it, they're going to be able to download it to their computer, their phone, something like that. So download on demand, as soon as they buy it, they can download it. Similarly, we have print on demand. This is used a lot with sewing patterns that are sold through Etsy or something like that, where you buy it, as soon as you purchase it, you get a link that you're able to download that to print it immediately and begin using it. So that download and print on demand, if that's something that your business utilizes and does, not all e-commerce stores support that terribly well. So next we have drag and drop, and this relates to a feature that a lot of user-friendly e-commerce platforms utilize. So for example, Shopify uses drag and drop, and I have over here on the right-hand side just kind of an example of a mock-up website that I was putting together for Shopify. And so we have this pane or this photo here, which will be on the left-hand side of the screen as you're kind of playing around with your website while you're developing it. And it's going to allow you to edit through here. So you can choose to edit through the beginner tab, the intermediate tab, the expert tab, and those are names and categories that I put in. They aren't pre-existing. And then from there, you can say, okay, you know what? I have these 3 collections that I've created. So 3 product collections. I'm ready to add a 4th product collection. So you would start with select collection or add collection. On Shopify, when you click this, it actually doesn't allow you to do it in that web page. It takes you to another web page where you're able to build the collection. So essentially, you're going to be building a library of information in one web page. And so you have all this information available. You then you drag it, you drop it into the web page where you're designing your web page. And designing your e-commerce platform. So you input information into one page, you drag and drop it into the design page. And it's a very streamlined process. It helps to keep everything nice and clean and organized for you. That way, as you're going through the content, as you're going through your different collections and designing your web page, you're not having to stop and think about all the different types of things that you're going to do. You're not having to stop and think about, okay, well, how do I want to make this deeper? How do I want to add more features to this? Because that's already been done in the separate web page. So when you hear that it's a drag and drop interface, that's usually a pretty good indicator that the web page is going to be, or the e-commerce platform is going to be very user friendly for beginners. SEO. So this is actually what our final workshop next Thursday is going to be about. But SEO stands for search engine optimization. And this can be through Google, this can be through Yahoo, Bing, whatever search engines you are using, or your customers, more importantly, are using. You want to be able to have your website come up at the top for whether they're Googling your name, your business's name, whether they're Googling the products that your business sells, the types of products your business sells. If I were a flower shop, then I would want my business and my website to come up high in the search rankings when somebody searches for wedding flowers. So that's what we're talking about with search engine optimization. And there are a lot of different factors that go into this. Some of them we'll discuss later on in this presentation. More so we'll discuss next week. But just know that some web platforms do a much, much better job at optimizing your website to rise up in the search rankings without you having to really think about it or do much of anything, simply because of their functionality, their security, things like that that are going to help you rise up in those search rankings. So you can, with some of the platforms, you can kind of start yourself out much lower than you would want to in the search rankings by choosing a platform that doesn't support SEO very well. All right, next we have marketing automation integration. A lot of 3-syllable words. So first off, let's break off that first chunk. So we have marketing automation. So what marketing automation is going to be is it's like a CRM, or it's something that allows you to, like it says, automate your marketing to make things fast and streamlined and smooth, to take repetitive tasks or similar formats and reutilize them and reuse them to be able to increase your marketing capabilities. So you have marketing automation, and those are usually done through a separate platform, a CRM, Hootsuite, HubSpot, things like that. And so you want those to be able to integrate with your website pretty seamlessly. So that way you are not having to jump through hoops and do all these tricks and troubleshooting and whatnot to be able to have your marketing work seamlessly with the e-commerce platform. For example, if you make a sale, you may want to send them a follow-up email later on that week, that month, saying, hey, here are some of the new products that we have available. But in order to do that, you would need a CRM that does email marketing, And then you would need that to be able to work with your website to see, hey, you've made a sale. We'll take that name, we'll take that email address, and then we'll send them a email about this later on. Or you can look at, hey, they specifically bought this product and this product would pair well with it. We're going to suggest this product in an email a month later or a week later or a day later. And so that's going to allow you to really automate your marketing and capture more leads to maintain current leads with your current customers as well. So next we have web hosting. So we have web hosting on this slide. On the next slide, we have domain name. And those are often confused because they're quite similar from our perception. But the best way I can describe it without kind of going into too much wordy jargon is going to be that web hosting is essentially the place where all your files on your website live. So we have on our computers, when we share a file, we have it all in those files. And that lets us know, okay, everything is organized. This is where this is where that is. Well, your website essentially does the same thing, but it automatically files away a lot of those different titles and descriptions and pictures and photos and how your website works. It's all stored in different files. So the web hosting houses all these files. So it's like your home. It's your website's home. When you move on to domain name, then that's going to be what you're typing into the browser URL bar. And that's like your domain's or your website's address. So if web hosting is their home, domain name is the address. It's the unique combination of letters, of numbers, whatever it may be, to let people know exactly where you are. And so domain names are also very important because having a very clear and memorable domain name is going to allow people to find your website easier and faster than it would if it was more convoluted. All right, getting just a bit more technical here. We're starting, we have SSL certificate, which relates to HTTP and HTTPS. Essentially, very simply put, HTTP is, the little thing that's at the beginning of the domain name. When you put that in, people don't automatically have to put that in. It will autofill itself into that. But HTTPS is essentially a more secure version of HTTP. And so it's needed if you are handling secure information like people's credit cards, their addresses, anything like that, which you are likely going to be if you have an online business. So it is necessary for your online business to be utilizing HTTPS. In addition, this really helps your SEO rankings because, like I said, SEO values security. And so by having a more secure website, you're more likely to rise up through the rankings. They're not going to weed you out. So an SSL certificate is essentially just the thing that says that you are HTTPS. And so many e-commerce platforms automatically have this. Some platforms have you buy it. And it can range, depending on the size of your business, from $150 a year to $700 a year at the upper ranges. So just something to keep in mind that you may be trying to utilize a free e-commerce hosting platform, but they may have this kind of hidden cost with the SSL certificate. All right, I'll go ahead and, oh, sorry, I have a couple more here. Next, we have extensions and plugins. So they are essentially, for our purposes, the same thing. It's going to be additional features that you can add on to your website. So if you start off with just kind of the base level website, then like it has here, the example of puzzle piece, it'll just begin to, you can add extensions which puzzle together and hopefully integrate seamlessly with your with your e-commerce platform to be able to allow more functions, allow you to do more things on that platform, and to be able to just have a more robust platform overall. Okay, there we go. That was the last one. So I'll go ahead and check for some questions now, see if there's anything that you'd like me to kind of touch on again, go back through anything that didn't completely make sense, just let me know. All right, seems like we are good to go for now. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Once again, if I'm discussing anything from this point forward where you're not really recalling what it was that we defined it as, go ahead and stop me, make a comment, and I'll answer it as quick as I can. So kind of the bread and butter or the meat of the question is, which platform is going to be best for you? So I'm going to cover some of the top platforms. These are in no particular order, except that they're just some of the most common platforms that I'm either asked about or that tend to be more favored. So first off, we have BigCommerce. So some benefits of utilizing BigCommerce is that you don't have to know code, which is most of us. I certainly don't know code. And because of that, it's very user-friendly, but it is adaptable for tech-savvy people. So you don't have to know code, but if you happen to know code, you can start to make some of those adjustments a little bit deeper into there. BigCommerce is also very scalable, so you can take it from a very little business to a very large business quite seamlessly, and you're not going to have to worry about the ability of the platform to host your business as it grows. BigCommerce has, in general, very good SEO performance, and so they don't have generally any things that hinder your business from rising up in search rankings. Their themes, the themes are what kind of are the layout of your web page. They have really excellent themes that you can choose from just right off the bat. They have a comprehensive abandoned cart feature, so that's one of the first things that we talked about. They make sure that people are coming back to look at the products that they put in the cart. And this is also a really good service for if you are a pre-existing business, if you have a brick and mortar business, and you want to have your products available online, which is something that's really happening in mass amounts right now with coronavirus and COVID-19. People are wanting to move their products and services online so people can have easier access to them. Some cons of BigCommerce is there are pretty inconsistent speeds and some studies that have been done. So sometimes it'll load really fast, sometimes it'll load really slow. This is significant because your customers tend to, the longer the wait time, the more of them you lose. And it's actually quite significant in the number of people that you're going to lose. In addition, this is another factor that SEO is based off of, is how fast the page loads. So you get some inconsistent speeds, but in what I've looked at, I haven't found any websites done with BigCommerce that have been just terribly slow. You also, although it is scalable, it can get quite expensive for high volume stores. So if you are selling a lot of products, this may not be the platform for you. The cart abandonment feature, though, is not on the entry plan, so you do have to go up to one of their higher plans in order to get that feature. There's no one-click selling or upsells feature, and while they have really good themes, the ones that are available for free are very limited. I believe it's only 2 or 3 that are available for free. All right, we have a question about SEO. It says, if we optimize for Google search, is it safe to assume that others will also be optimized? In general, probably. The kind of tricky thing about SEO is while there are some general guidelines to follow, each individual platform defines their own SEO guidelines. And so in general, I tell people you're probably going to want to focus on Google because they're the largest search platform, and because there's kind of more information about what you can do for SEO for Google available. unless of course you know that your customer base tends to utilize Bing or Yahoo more. And in that case, you certainly want to optimize for those more particularly. But in general, if you're optimizing your page for SEO, especially with some basic base level things, then yeah, you're probably going to rise up the search rankings and a lot more of the platforms as well. Thank you for your question. All right. So we'll go ahead and move on then to some of the pricing for BigCommerce. Each of these websites have their own very extensive pricing guide where it shows you all the different features that you get. Unfortunately, I just don't have time or space to go over all that. So if you find that one of these platforms look like it may be beneficial for you, I'd go check it out. But I just wanted to give you an idea of kind of the range of prices that are available from these different companies. So with BigCommerce, you start at the standard, which is about $30 a month. The most popular, obviously, is their Pro at $80. And then if you have a larger business, you're looking at $300 a month. That's what I was talking about when it said that it can get a little bit expensive to do these. But it is one of the more robust ones. And you may get a little bit of a difference in price based off of if you're paying monthly or annually, as well as it's important to note that they do have a free trial feature. And so you'll get like 2 weeks or something to try it out for free. Next up, we have WooCommerce. Some of the pros is that it goes through WordPress, which I know a lot of people have their business websites already on WordPress. So if you wanted to add an e-commerce portion to it, that would be one of the most seamless ways to do so. WordPress is one of the best platforms for search engine optimization. It's proven to be the best pretty continuously. You have one-click selling available through an additional app that you can utilize. And then you have lots of WordPress experts who are available. Lots of people know it. They have a big community surrounding it. And so you're not going to have any problems finding somebody if you do need some help. WordPress and WooCommerce is also highly customizable, so you can really change it to fit your business's needs. And many marketing options. There are lots of marketing extensions, apps, and plenty of other integrations to really make it as customizable as you need. In addition, it's almost entirely free. So there are some themes and some extensions that may have a cost associated with them. But unless you really specifically need those, you can pretty much get away with creating a free site for yourself. Some of the downsides is that good hosting can be pretty pricey, and you have to deal with kind of the blame game for some troubleshooting. And so you may not get the most seamless, streamlined sort of assistance, even though there is lots of it. Going through that, there's also essentially no support. So although a lot of people know it and you would have no problem hiring somebody, you can't just call up WooCommerce and get a really good, clear answer. The basic program starts out very, very basic. So you need to add extensions in order to do some simple things. While they are free, you will have to have that knowledge of how to kind of add those extensions. So it's not terribly beginner friendly. And the site slows down when you have a lot of products on there. So if you have a lot of products that you're selling, this may not be the best option for you. Additionally, and very important to note, is that WordPress is pretty notorious for security issues. So obviously they're quite good in SEO, so they make up for it in other places, but there are constantly leaks of consumer information, credit card, things like that, that you have to be aware of with WordPress, because it's essentially just pretty constant that a new leak or issue is coming out. All right. So the next site that we have is Shopify, which is one of the more popular sites. In fact, I believe it's currently the most popular e-commerce site for people starting up their own businesses. So some pros are there are several free themes available. I believe it's somewhere in the range of 7 or 8. It's also an excellent option if you are doing a drop shipping business. It integrates really seamlessly with Facebook ads and Instagram ads as well. It has lots of supporting apps to be able to increase the features that are available through Shopify. They have really, really fast loading time, which is going to help you capture and keep more customers. It's very easy to set up. I've been playing around with Shopify a little bit in preparation for this, and I think I set up almost an entire shop in 45 minutes. And so you can, if you are looking to just get up and running, this might be a good site for you because you can just get started right away. They have lots of certified partners to help you, so you're never going to be alone trying to figure it out. They do have one-click selling available, so those one-click upgrades after people purchase. And they allow multiple channels and social selling, so that's going to really help out with your marketing. Some cons is that it doesn't always have the best SEO. It has pretty weak ratings or rankings with SEO. It's not the best for large stores with a lot of products. It gets kind of bogged down with all those products. It does have a rigid URL structure. So it basically, in mine, it hyphenated the name of my business. And so that's going to be the kind of URL structure that they have available for you. And you can't adjust that or change it, which once again, you want your URL to be somewhat memorable so people can find it easily. That's not necessarily going to scale the best with your business. If you're not utilizing Shopify payments, they are going to charge you transaction fees, but people tend to like Shopify payments quite a bit. There aren't any distinct issues with it. So just something to keep in mind. You aren't able to customize the checkout process. So if that's something that's important to you, or you have a special feature you want available with that checkout process, this may not be the platform for you. Apps can add up and become costly. They're not all free like the WordPress or WooCommerce is going to be. And for more advanced features, you're probably going to need a developer. Shopify is really great for beginners, but it kind of caps out at just beginners. Shopify prices are essentially exactly the same as WooCommerce, I think with the distinction of about 75 cents each, BigCommerce. So you start out with about $30 for basic, up to $300 for advanced. If you get a 2-week free trial where you don't have to put in your credit card information or anything. So if you want, you can just play around with it for a while and see if that format is going to work for your business. All right, next we have Wix. So some of the pros of Wix are going to be that they have lots and lots of amazing themes and they're free. It's very, very, very simple to set up and use. And their on-page support is always available, where you can just immediately go into a chat box in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and get help right then and there for what you're doing. So that ease of use, that beginner friendliness is kind of the notable feature for Wix. Unfortunately, some of their cons or some of the bad parts about Wix is going to be that they're really trying to fight a bad SEO reputation. And they're not necessarily succeeding in doing so. So you're not going to get great SEO with Wix. Many sites weren't secured and are not secured when they're done through Wix. It also lacks some marketing features and integrations that a lot of people are going to want, and you are going to be stuck with whatever your site template is after you've created it. So Wix pricing starts a little bit lower. It starts at about $23 a month, goes up $27, $49. Those are where most businesses are going to fall. If you're an enterprise business, I don't know if I'd suggest using Wix, but it's $500 a month if you want to. All right, next we have Squarespace. So some of the benefits of Squarespace is like Spotify, it's a drag and drop feature, which is really user-friendly and adaptable. It also has the availability for that print on demand, download on demand e-commerce. The top plan available has the abandoned auto cart recovery. You can also get subscriptions, gift cards, flexible discounts. So when you pay a little bit more with Squarespace, you do get your money's worth. It's really easy to set up. It's great for very simple stores that aren't going to have a lot of products, would be very complex. They do have very beautiful designs, and they have really good SEO tools as well. Some of the downsides are that there's no drop shipping. So if that's what you're doing, Squarespace is out of the picture. They don't have that marketing automation integration. And so you're not going to get that seamless marketing in that way. They also don't have an Amazon integration. And for the price that you're paying, it could be faster. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. No app store for more features and functionalities. So Squarespace, it's very cut and dry. You get what you get and you don't get to add anything else onto it, which if you're looking to grow your business can be a big hindrance. So price-wise, you can start with a personal, which is $12 a month. You can move up to a business, $18, $26, $40 a month. And as you can see below, you can save a pretty significant amount by paying for this annually instead of month by month. But Squarespace does have a lot cheaper prices, which is what draws a lot of people to them in the first place. In my opinion, I think that for a lot of businesses, you're going to get a lot more for kind of the additional $10 that you may pay for some of the other sites. But if you have a very simple store, this may be the way to go. Next, we have Volusion. This is kind of becoming an outdated website or e-commerce platform, but they do have some benefits to them, and they're currently working on kind of getting back up to date. So now, maybe in the future a little bit, this could become a better option for people, but they have really great onboarding and a good help center. So you're going to be talking to people that are really going to try and help you. They have good flexibility with their sitemaps. They have built-in subscription and reoccurring payments. And so if you are a subscription-based service, this may be something that you're going to want to go with. They're SMB friendly. They have a well laid out dashboard, so it's really easy to utilize. They have a clear inventory and marketing system. Unfortunately, they lack the upsell, cross-selling features like the, hey, you liked this, maybe you'll like this as well, or would you like to go to the next tier? They aren't going to allow you to do that as much. So you're not going to be getting as much of a customer involvement with that. Many of their sites have a poor URL structure, which is going to be detrimental to your, not detrimental, it's going to have a negative impact on your SEO as well as just people remembering kind of your site. Many of the sites do look really dated. They don't look new or clean. It definitely is showing its age in that. And they don't have a built-in blogging functionality. And for marketers, for businesses that are wanting sort of some grassroots marketing, that blogging function can be really imperative. So them not having it is a big hindrance as well. Volusion starts at $26 a month, skips quite a bit up to their $71 a month. Their most popular is a bit more expensive, $161, and then $269. So this is something though, where as you're looking at this $269 number, it is a little bit cheaper per month than some of the others are for essentially the same, what you're getting is quite similar. So if you're a larger business, it may be worth it to look at the Volusion for a little bit of savings, but I would encourage you to weigh the options and the features more heavily than just the price alone. And finally, we have Magento. Magento is kind of utilized by very, very large brands. So obviously it scales quite well. It's very adaptable. It's probably the one with the most flexibility, but you're also going to be getting yourself into to quite a bit with it. So it's really good for large brands. They have a very robust and rich features, so you're able to change and customize it. Strong SEO, they have great one-click selling. They have lots of users, a big community to be able to assist you if you have any questions or problems with it. It is highly scalable, highly customizable, and then you are able to choose where you want to host the software with a lot more flexibility. So it's kind of the best of everything as far as what you get out of it. Some of the cons are that the themes that are available are very pricey, and they don't have a lot of free options for you. So it also gets easily slowed down. It requires development skills, and so if you don't know how to write code, this probably isn't the site for you. It has essentially no support. It's all user and community supported, and it requires a lot of space and a lot of memory to be able to perform well. So do a really quick wrap up here because I do want to allow just a few minutes for questions, but that's essentially the overview of some of the top e-commerce platforms. There are a lot more available, and I would encourage you, with kind of some of the knowledge that you hopefully now have about different SEO terms or e-commerce terms and what they mean and how they play into your business specifically, I'd encourage you to go out to some of these websites and search their websites, see more of the details of them than what I was able to provide here. I'll open up the time now for additional questions that people may have. So one question is, if we start with one platform, are we committed to that platform going forward? Probably. You don't want to be changing your platforms around continuously, and that can become very, very difficult, if not impossible, with some hosting. When you buy the domain name, buy the hosting platform, you may be committed annually for a couple years, 5 years, whatever your contract is going to look like. So what I would suggest is plan for the long term when you're doing these. So I would say start with a platform that is going to be a little bit smaller, or be able to be a little bit smaller at a cheaper price. And as your business grows, then you move up those kind of pricing rankings with something that's going to be able to scale with your business. But if you're trying to create a website for your side hustle, then yeah, maybe Squarespace, maybe Wix is going to be best for you because those are going to be fast and cheap. But to answer your question, if you start with one platform, you're going to want to stick with it. If you're asking because you currently have a platform that you don't like, you may be able to switch. You don't want to throw your customers off too much with that by having a whole new site where they think that they have stumbled across somebody else's information instead of yours. It just creates a lack of continuity. So you want to stick with it as long as you can. That was a great question. Do we have any others? All right, sounds good. So I have, as you can see, my email address available on the screen here. If you'd like these slides, if you'd like kind of a step-by-step list of some of this stuff, or if you'd like to schedule an advising appointment, ask a question, anything like that, please feel free to email me. Just because it's a little difficult to read there, that's ksbdcadvisor@wichita.edu. That'll go directly to me. And I'm looking forward to talking about some of this with a few of you in the future. So have a great day. We'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Please feel free to stay if you have any more questions.